next, the state's newest state senator, Stephanie Hansen, talks about all the national attention and how your dog can volunteer to help kids in need. This is the Delaware Way. Welcome to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. It is the election that decided the balance of power in the Delaware Senate and got national attention for our first guest, Stephanie Hansen, now Senator Stephanie Hansen from the 10th Congressional District. Thank you so much for being here. What a crazy time it has been for you. You were in this election to determine the balance of power, which is a big statewide story, but you became a national story.
Yes.
So tell me where you've been and what shows you've been on over the last few months.
Well, I've been on shows in absentia. You know, they've done stories about the race, but I haven't actually been on. Rachel Maddow is a good example. I was on my race was on Rachel Maddow twice. Chris Matthews, Morning Joe. It was really wild.
There was a huge national attention, but some of that, and that became after the election, but there was a lot of attention before the election too. You had money coming from all across the country.
I did. We actually had contributions from every state in the United States. And the average contribution, I think we had 14,000 contributions. The average amount was about $24. And it was predominantly from women. This was really a women's movement, a women's race, it seemed to be. And I saw a huge spike in interest that was sustained after the women's marches in Washington.
Was there something behind it? Was the National Democratic Party calling you? Did they tell you the importance of your race?
No, they did not. Really what was behind it was the feeling that Democrats had, and some people that maybe were not even Democrats, but that were a little bit concerned about the daily sort of chaos that was coming from Washington after the inauguration. You know, every day you'd turn on the television and there'd be a new story about some policy or some executive order.
And people were mad at Donald Trump, and they saw this is a way to express their anger.
Right.
There's actually an election going on where I can vote for a Democrat. My question was, how did they find out about it?
How'd they find out about it?
Your race?
Social media, a big part of that, very much through social media. And there were a couple of websites, Flippable, or organizations, Flippable and Sister District, that were somewhat women focused, particularly Sister District, but others that weren't, a huge social media campaigns and reaching out to their folks. That's how they found out about it. That and television shows like Rachel Maddow and Chris Matthews and all that.
No, I just read a story that said how America elected Stephanie Hansen. And you had told me before we started that Rachel Maddow said the fate of the Democratic Party rests with Stephanie Hansen. So here you are in the senatorial district in Delaware, and you have now all the weight of the country on your shoulders. Has that been relieved at this point now that you're in?
Well, I wouldn't say it's relieved. It's been replaced with a different kind of stress and anxiety, with actually having to deal with the issues and the very heavy issues that we're dealing with here. Because you can see, had this race gone differently, the way some of the issues are that we're dealing with right now would be decided very differently. For instance, the abortion issue. We've just finished with the legislation in Delaware Senate, the Delaware General Assembly, that codified basically Roe v. Wade. Now, if we had had a Republican Senate and the weight had shifted in that direction, I think you may have seen a different outcome. We're looking at now other issues like the death penalty, legalization of marijuana, how we balance a budget with cuts versus revenue. Some of those things are very much different if you're on the Democratic side versus the Republican side.
You have, and I want to stay with politics for 1 second, and I will get into all the issues that and the budget fight that you're dealing with right now, but you have something that every politician longs for. You now have a base of donors across the country. You have their addresses, you have their emails for elections. So you now there's power in what you have now.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but thank you very much.
Come on now, you must be thinking about the fact that if you wanted to run for higher office, or if you wanted, when you run for re-election, you now have this base of supporters, unlike maybe anyone else in the state.
Well, that's true, but you know, a lot of politics is local, and you want to be able to show that you have the support of local people. And so the preference is to make sure that you raise money from the people that are locally within your district. I seriously doubt that my race is going to have the local attention, the national attention ever again. So, you know, I could try to go back to some of those smaller pots of money, those wells again. I don't know that that's really going to be helpful, because I'm the senator of the 10th district for part of Middletown and Bear Glasgow and Newark. It's not even for the whole state of Delaware. So it's really a local race.
And it's obviously something you haven't thought about, which is a good thing. That's actually a good thing, because now you're moving on to represent your district.
Correct.
And you're in the middle of a budget fight. The Republicans have a lot of power in this debate. They're looking for some structural financial stability, not just a year-to-year budget fight. Can anyone disagree with that? Wouldn't that be a good thing, that there was some types of means test for any increase in revenue?
Well, I think certainly there's a lot of work to do, because we do have a structural problem with the budget. And I think that we're looking at that. That's why there's a big push for job growth and the economy, even more so from the Democratic side than you would have seen in the past. So they are right about that we do have some structural problems, and I think that the governor notices that as well. There
always is this fight it's a philosophical fight between the Democratic and Republican Party. Republicans like to see cuts before there's any increase in taxes, and Democrats want to see an increase in taxes. I don't know if that's too simple, but that's what how the fight is characterized at. And it certainly is playing out in Dover right now. Do you believe there has to be a raise in the income tax?
Yes, I do. I really do, because at this point, we've only been, let me back up for a second, $400 million budget deficit. What the governor has put forth and what we agree to, at least on our Democratic side, is half revenue increases and half cuts. We've already begun the process of making the cuts. We're about halfway there or so with $100 million in cuts. And we are cutting programs that are really hurting people right now. We're cutting programs to a lot of money to schools, to seniors, to the arts, to animal welfare, to all the state agencies. I hear every day, I probably get 100 emails a day from people that are very upset about the cuts that are being made right now to seniors, and you can only do so much before you really start hurting people. And this is where we are at the time right now, where we're having to say we have got to come up with more in the way of revenue increases, because we are truly hurting people at this point.
We'll talk more about the budget fight and some other issues when we continue our conversation with Senator Stephanie Hansen from the 10th Senatorial District in Delaware, when the Delaware Way continues.